Okay, so welcome everybody to our coffee break today, SAP Business One version 10, new features. And a reminder, this is not, these are the new features that are from the latest patch level, because we have another recording for those that are not already on version 10 that we showed the initial new features of version 10. So this is from the latest patch level with Mike Taylor. So it's all yours, Mike.
Thanks, Tracy. I did mix in some new and old things. So there are
Okay.
some that are brand new, but I just have some comments on existing ones too, in case people haven't seen them. So I
Okay.
apologize if I do go over.
No, that's all right, Mike. That's good.
Okay. Um, I went through SAP's new features, like the brand new feature stuff. It's a giant document. I played with a bunch of things. I picked a few that I thought were kind of most impactful, and I'll show those. So we're going to go through many, many features, and then we can have some questions. So I'm not going to go through. I'm gonna go through each one. I'm not going to keep this up on screen. Maybe I'll switch back and forth a little bit. But the first one I'm going to talk about is the 64-bit only. So if you have heard me talk about it before, I was a 32-bit. I don't know, 32-bit for life. But my experience was that the 32-bit was just more tested, and I wasn't really a fan of the 64-bit. I didn't find there was much advantage. The whole framework is now 64-bit, so it just kind of eliminates that whole discussion, and everything is done basically in 64-bit with some backwards compatible 32-bit DI API stuff. So that was known, is known. And we'll just go through some of these interesting points. I tried to organize them somewhat into a specific, I don't know, grouping, but we'll see how it goes here. So company name at the top of the client. This is pretty neat actually, because you can see whether you're in testing or not. So you can click it and switch. I think this is good because previously it was only visible up in the upper left-hand corner. So you can always click here, move that around. You can hide your toolbars. So if you want to have your whole screen taken up by your dashboards, you can hide your toolbars. That's new. The license balloon, if people remember the license balloon pop-ups when you log in, there's like a little license just saying what your license is. You could turn that off. It's user by user. So you can just click here, my personal settings. And at the bottom, it'll say show license information at startup. Most people I find don't care about that. It just says basically your company name, and it shows your company name, and then it just shows your SAP license. It's nothing really that special. And I find people have asked me quite a few times to disable it. So you can't do it at the company level. You just click your personal settings, uncheck under services, show license information at startup. I'll just leave it there for myself. Copying form settings per form. This one's really neat because previous to this, you had to basically go through and copy your form settings over everybody else's form settings. So I can go copy form settings, and I can click forms, and then I can actually just click a specific set of forms and copy it between specific users. So that is super nice. Again, previously it was all or nothing. You either had to copy every form of yours over or none. So it'd be very difficult to maintain, all of the same users' form settings. So now you can copy over, sales quotes, orders, deliveries, invoices, etc., and have your columns all match. Very, very nice and handy there. Looks like in the user form, you can actually do the show license information. So I guess if you go through each user and uncheck them, you could do that. I didn't see it when I looked through the note or in services here centrally. Yeah, you can't disable it centrally. It has to be user by user. So either the user does it themselves or you do it for the users. For license admin, For license admin, they added the user's name, which is nice. So previously it was just the user code. Sometimes people were using generic user codes, but now it'll actually have the user's name in there as well. That's also for the add-ons by user setting. It makes it easier for large organizations because sometimes people will, I don't recommend to just rename a user, like just set the old user to inactive, make a new user, and then move the licenses. If you need help with that, let us know. It's much better to do that rather than having like me log in as like Mark or something. I've seen that a lot, and I think people just don't know that they can do that. But anyways, this helps to just isolate that. You could see the user's name as well in the add-ons. Oh, and in that as well, you can hide locked users. So if the user's locked and you're not going to use them, you could set them to not be active, but you can just lock them as well. And then you can hide the locked users. This is also very useful because if you're maintaining a lot of users, you don't, especially me going through them and kind of auditing the user list, I don't know who's locked or unlocked necessarily. Even if I work with somebody a lot, I don't necessarily know exactly who they are. So that is another nice little feature there, hide lock users. Approval process has been improved quite a bit. I think this mostly was in the original V10 changes, but I couldn't really recommend using the real approval processes because it was so rigid that it didn't allow anybody to do anything. And everybody, of course, would ask for rigid approval processes until they really had to do it and they realized how rigid it was. And so this gives you a couple more options here. So allowing you to update them while it's in generation, allowing you as the originator to update it if it's pending, and allowing the authorizer to update it when it's in pending as well. So it allows more of like a back and forth so that you can have that be more flexible. I'll jump on this one. So a couple of really interesting ones in this one, in this group as well. I'm just going to go through these. So these are just kind of shorthand notes for me. So one thing that's was really interesting, it's a small change, but it's a really important change. And I think it's really a useful thing is modules, administration, system initialization, general settings. You can now prevent the change of a price list in the document when you change your payment terms. I don't think SAP always listens to us when we talk about little changes like this, but this was one that didn't make much sense to me, is when you went to change the price, the payment terms, a lot of customers don't want, they'll want to change from net 30 to net 60 perhaps, but they don't want to be prompted to change their price list. So you can use this checkbox on the business partner general settings, and it'll say apply changes in BP fields to new business partners only. This is not accurate as far as my quick testing. This should just say apply changes in BP fields on the business partner master data only. It seems to still prompt you on the master data if you change the default payment terms on the BPMD. But when this is checked, it won't prompt you to change your price list in a document. So that's cool. I really think that's a good little change. It's a little thing, but the people that don't like that really don't like that. And it actually causes a lot of issues because say you change them to due on receipt, but due on receipt is linked to a retail price list. Your user accidentally switches it to a retail price. It's just annoying and causes a lot of issues. So that's fixed, or it gives you that option there. Drilling down directly from item to bombs. So I won't show you this, but if you work with bombs a lot, this one is super annoying because you end up clicking twice. I don't know why anybody would want to go from a sales order to the bomb instead of going from the sales order to master data. So with like something like B1 Up, you can work around that, and they had options for that. But now there's a native under the inventory tab, open item master data instead of bill of materials. I find that even if you're in production, you probably want to go to the inventory tab or you want to go somewhere else. You don't necessarily want to go directly to the BOM. If you do want to go to the bill of materials, you could just go to the item master data. and then right click, go to bill of materials. I think maybe they should have added a checkbox that would say open, give you the option on marketing documents versus production documents. Because I know some people look at the bill of materials all the time. Some people not. It would just give you more options. Again, with B1 Up, you can change all those things too. So that's easy to customize. Hide inactive contacts. I keep navigating away from here, but a lot of the things are in these settings. Display inactive contact persons in Business Partner Master Data. So you can remove these here. So you can you could just hide inactive contact persons. So, especially if you have a lot of contact people in a specific business partner, you can hide them and make them inactive. So they kind of sort of go away. So that's kind of nice. Again, you can't really delete much in SAP, but being able to hide it is becoming more and more of an option for sales employees, for users, and certain things. Because as people,
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
Could you do that to hide inactive items?
Yeah, this was already available. So you'd have inventory, and then you say display inactive items in, and then you can just remove it from marketing documents.
Okay.
So I don't remember when this was added. It might have been 9.3, I think, when they added a lot more of these options. But yeah, if you go to general settings, inventory, don't display in marketing documents, you won't get inactive items. I know it's really annoying. A user goes and creates a whole marketing document, and then at the end, it goes, oh, this item is inactive, and then you have to go through and make a bunch of changes. Yep. Assigning queries to the menu. So this one is, good now, but again, sorry, I'm kind of biased to B1. B1 Up does this way better, but now out of the box, you can assign queries to the menu. I think that this is kind of like SAP's user interface edits. It's not really that great, but at least it's something for people who don't have B1 Up. So if you have B1 Up, you can fully assign it. You can customize your golden arrow links. With the query manager, if you do anything at all complex with your queries, you can't manually assign golden arrows. It makes them moderately useless. But now at least you can assign it to a menu. So that's progress, I guess. Multiple formatted search triggers. Again, if you are just hardcore vanilla SAP and don't want to do B1 Up, this is good for you, but B1 Up has always been able to do multi-trigger. But this was something where if you're trying to do some sort of workaround, you would, say on a row, you'd want to trigger based on the change of a UDF and the change of the warehouse, or the change of the price of the change of the warehouse. I remember early on in my SAP career, before I figured out B1 Up, you would have to do a whole bunch of different workarounds. You'd have to make one field based on another field, and then you'd have to do all these different little workarounds in order to trigger a multi-chain of formatted searches. Now you can do this through this method. I don't use this, so I don't know how effective it is. Again, B1 Up is much more thorough, but it's good for out of the box. It's good for simplified things. I think I'll run into it more. I do use formatted searches very limitedly if I have something really simple to do. But it is a good option to have multiple formatted search triggers, especially if you have some sort of kind of domino formatted search hack that you're working on. Importing UDTs from the client. I looked at this and I made an assumption. Administration import from Excel. So you can go through here. I've done videos on this before on this topic. Now they added user-defined tables. I made the mistake of thinking this was the data of the UDT, but this is not the data of the UDT. This is just literally the table. So this is not really something that I care about. I mean, if you have to import 20 tables, maybe it'll save you a little bit of time, but you're going to end up spending a bunch of time in Excel. I wish SAP would allow you to import the data into the table so you don't have to convert them all to objects. I had this conversation with another consultant. If you want to import data into a UDT, you have to make it as a UDT with a master data type. You have to make it as a master data type or one of the object types, and you have to register it as an object. This is a topic for another video, but you have to register it as an object, and then you can import it through the DTW. Doing this, it just kind of shows you a little bit of, I don't understand why SAP would add this as a feature, and maybe for a small amount of people, this is very useful. But again, I wish it was just data to the UDTs and not just UDTs. A lot of longer descriptions, in particular, one that comes up is the item master data. So it's now 200 characters for the description. Is this really that useful? If you're writing a novel in the description, it's whatever. Some people want it. I don't really think that you should put 200 characters in there, but that's just me. I think it's kind of unreadable. You can always do a UDF and, or use, say, foreign name if you're not using it, and you can make this into just extended description. And then you can use that into a UDF or use it to print out if you need a little bit of extra remarks on a sales order or something when you're doing your confirmation. My professional opinion, the description should be 200 long, but some people like it, so that's good for them. Official link from the contact to the address. This is a really interesting one that they did here. I know they had like the address before, but it was kind of a weak association. So now you can go and do the address, and you can associate the contact people with a particular connected address. So you can see you have bill to, and then you have, both of my addresses here, and you can associate them officially with that so that you can filter by there. I think it doesn't really flow anywhere else as far as my testing. Like if you select logistics, it doesn't seem to filter based on the location that you are. But at least it gives you an idea of which location, if you like to use multi-ship location. I try to split up the business partners as much as I can, or recommend that if it's separated stores to use consolidation rather than a million addresses. In some cases, a lot of addresses will be the solution. But now you can actually link the contact people to that. And you could potentially do a little dashboard or like a little report outputting addresses with particular contact people at that location with their detailed information. And of course, with B1Up, you can do a lot more extension on that. So it's kind of a neat little addition. I have seen people ask me about that. Next page, let's take a quick look. Add and close buttons. This one's been there since V10. Couple more neat little things. Share invoice consolidated. Oh, okay, yeah, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go through these. Add and close. So if you're doing a new document, you now have these add and new, add and view, add and close. I think this is a good, overall, it's a good add. Previously, it would be add and new only, but now you can go add and view, add and close. I think it's good, especially if you're a power user. You could just, you're adding an AP invoice, add and close. You're just adding them, and then you're just out of there. Or you can go add and new, and you're going to make a new one, or add and view. So that's kind of neat. That's a V10 thing. You can now, and I really like this feature on the row, you can now go and allow updates of user-defined fields when document rows are not editable. I think this allows us to make much better extensions. Previously, I've done this, and I had to use like a B1Up button that would automatically do an SQL update to a UDF in the background, assuming that I can do it. It's a dead end field or something, because it would lock up all the UDFs as well. So now on the row, I see this document's fully closed. I can change contents of a UDF. So it's really nice if you have, again, different associations, purchase orders. Maybe it's partially been delivered and you need to modify some sort of link to some other document or something. You can always change those now. So that's in document settings. Confirmation on quotes. They have the approved they have basically the same field as approved now on quotes. I might not even have confirmed. So this is technically the same the same process as is on the sales orders. I usually call this approved, but now it's displayed in the user interface for sales quotes. So that's kind of nice, where you can keep track of whether it's officially confirmed. I know I have a lot of customers that we've added like a quote confirmed or various other UDF, confirmations or different things to manage the sales cycle of quotes. But now you can have kind of unconfirmed or confirmed and use that to manage in your specific document. Emailed status. Let me see if I have something in. So now they have not only open and printed, but open and emailed. So if you do click emailed, it will mark it as emailed now and not just open printed. It felt like out of the box emails were just kind of added at the last minute. But now this having, been incorporated is nice because you can track it. Has it actually officially been emailed? Of course, there's a lot of things around that, but it's nice, a little bit of progress there. AR invoice consolidation options. Those of you that use consolidation, that sometimes it's annoying. If something happens, maybe you need to change it, but now you can actually change your payment consolidation. So you can change your payment consolidation and you're consolidating BP. This one has already been added, but I don't know if it's in deliveries. But along the way, when I was testing, it was allowing me to change it. I guess it's just, oh, this one's closed. Anyway, as you add it, you can change it. I thought maybe in sales orders, it was allowing me to be more flexible. So again, it's new to me. I'm just going to check this quickly. I have an open one here. No, it doesn't put it in there. But yeah, it allows you to actually change it. I have tried changing with SQL before, and it doesn't seem to break anything, but I don't love to do that. So now you can actually just change it on add. So that's always super nice. This is a little change that will make in my opinion, a big difference. If you have used these reference documents, the reference documents, if you don't know about them under accounting, allow you to refer to documents outside of a specific chain of documents. So you can link any two documents together. There's a lot of options here, from external documents to other things. There's a lot of different scenarios for here. In this case, I just linked a purchase order manually. I didn't do it as, say, a procurement wizard where it had to have a rigid purchase order link. I did it as a manual link to this document. Previous to this update, though, you wouldn't be able to really know unless you basically knew. Unless you went to the sales order, went to accounting, clicked this button and viewed this. But now if you are looking in your relationship map, there's a little checkbox down here. So before you would have to go like this and it was still useless. You'd still have to drop down, go to reference documents, and then it would show you this thing here. But now in the regular document tree view, the standard one that you're looking at, as long as you check the reference documents, it's going to show up. And this is all that I ever wanted from this, because it makes it easy if you're looking through the chain of documents and the relationship map. Now you can see any reference documents. And I think that's a small detail, but it actually makes it useful. And same with activities. I wish their activities would be more transparent. It would make them useful, because nobody's going to proactively be looking for related activities. And I do a little trick with B1 Up, but I wish SAP would get on board with that. Hide blank lines in your address. So you see here that I have a blank just because of the way that I did my multi-line setup. I had to do street as address line 1, and then I do street number as address line 2, but then you'd end up with this gap. And then I would use Crystal Reports to filter out the gap where there were 2 enters. It would remove the enter, set it as 1 enter. But now you can use this hide empty address lines at the bottom, and it will actually look correct to users. So if I look back in this example, this is what it would look like if I didn't have 2 address rows. So this is very nice, and it's something, hey, this should have maybe been done a long time ago, but whatever, it's good. And then this way you don't have to filter anything out in your Crystal Reports. The user sees it properly. The reports are printed out properly. They added a lot of fields and UDFs to the open items list. I know people like to use this open items list, and now there are more options in the newer version. So you can add all sorts of fields. There's lots of all of these links and header, row. These are all sorts of UDFs. So that's nice because previously you were limited to only what SAP had in there. And just a couple more. What do we got here? GL drill down in the browser access and the new mobile apps. Okay, so GL drill downs, I get this all the time. It's like QuickBooks can do this, and it's like, yeah, I don't really know why I can't. So I'm just going to run this P&L statement. So this is kind of where SAP missed the mark a little bit, and then I have a kind of compensation here for it. So you have these golden arrows. This is what's added in the newer V10 versions. You click the golden arrows, and it goes, woo, it goes to the chart of accounts, and then conceivably you can drill down to the balance. I just added a little thing with B1 Up. It's a dashboard. You could just double click on the details here, and it will actually break out with the detail of what's in the balance there. And you could drill down into the journal entry. I could make it drill down potentially into the actual document as well here. So this is just a quick and easy little B1 Up customization. Whereas, again, I think SAP made a big deal out of this drill down, and it doesn't really do much. So if you want that P&L drill down, I can provide that.
Yeah, that option there, the drill down, was supposed to be out in 9.3, and then it was pushed to version 10. So it finally did come out in the last patch level, but the initial V10 new features, it was supposed to be there and it wasn't.
But keep in mind that what SAP added was this golden arrow only.
Yeah.
And then B1 Up, I add this one. So you actually get the rows and the details. And so again, I figured it out. It's pretty straightforward. So, and last but not least, we have, this is the document, this 152 pages. So the browser access, I haven't had a chance to play with this too much. Apparently, it's more efficient. The user interface is actually rendered on the server side. My impression was they were removing browser access for the web client, but the web client doesn't support add-ons. The browser access does support add-ons, including most of B1 Up stuff. So I was always in favor of the browser access option. So here you can see Chrome being used. So this is really good for external, say, salespeople that you don't want them to need to RDP in. You could do sap.yourbusiness.com, and then they can log in there directly, and we can install SSL certificates and all that nice stuff. So it apparently is much easier now. And then 110 is apparently also they have new sales and service mobile apps. It's supported now on the SQL versions. I haven't played with these, and despite doing a lot of installs early, I don't really love them, but it is something maybe to look into. I think you could just download these on your favorite platforms, and you can try them in a demo mode. A lot of people request them. Are they realistically, worth implementing, maintaining, and all that stuff to use it? In my professional opinion, no. I've never seen people get massive use out of them. It's interesting because you can run weird, tiny little crystal reports through them, but honestly, nobody needs to do that in reality. And I think the browser access is a much better option because you can just like pop open, on a tablet, or you're in a, you're remote somewhere, but you do have Wi-Fi access or something. You could just go in and actually get the same user experience. Problem with the apps really is people do a lot of customization, and especially on mature systems, there's a lot of fields, there's a lot of customization, there's a lot of automation, and a lot of that's missed out based on these apps. So that's my comment mostly on the sales side. For the service side, I honestly haven't used it almost at all, but at least it is available, and they've improved them and they look cool. So you could check those out. I made it exactly on 30 minutes. It was amazing. There's so many features. I couldn't cover them all. Fixed assets, a lot of little improvements. I think they kind of sort of explain themselves, but those ones I showed are kind of the ones I thought would be the most impactful based on the little day-to-day things that people ask me rather than kind of macro changes to fixed assets modules and things like that. So
would you have 5 minutes to show it to us, Mike?
The fixed assets?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I just don't have any data set up.
Okay.
It's more little things they've just extended with different options. So it's probably good for another topic. Actually, we should remember that.
Okay.
Get the fixed asset. The fixed assets module's pretty deep now. I can't claim to be an expert at it.
No, well, that was on one of our lists. I think we covered that on one of our topics, maybe this fall with the accounting consultants. But does anybody have any questions? You've got the chat box there, Q&A, that you could just, and I'll unmute you if you have any questions for Mike. But just reminding you all again, a few of you came in late, that these are new features from the last V10 patch level. I have actually, I think it's 1 or 2 full sessions on V10. So if somebody's on a prior version that wants to see everything, Christopher had covered all the new features on version 10. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. So if somebody wants that, I could send you a link for it on our YouTube page. And the document that Mike just showed you all as well, there's a document that actually goes through and explains everything that was on the last. Could you show us that, Mike? Just the document you showed there, the new features.
I closed it. It's right here.
Because I've got it in PDF.
Yeah, this is PDF.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I have that. So if anybody wants a copy of it, send me an email and I'll mail it to you. I'll email it to you. And I don't have any questions, Mike. So thank you very much. And for those that missed the French session this morning that was canceled, Fleury was sick. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. But I'm going to be doing a retake with Fleury next week. And if you want me to send you an email when I have the recording up, send me an email and I'll share it with you so you'll have the French session. So that's that, everybody. Thanks a lot, Mike.
All right. Thank you. Bye for now.
Happy weekend, everybody. Bye.
Bye.